Hello! Thank you so much for joining me today on a special edition of the Singapore Expat. Today I am going to be talking through a few of the things that I've learned in my year and a half of being in Singapore that I wish I had known before I came to Singapore so that I could be prepared, so that I could be ready to go and hit the ground running when I arrived. And so I'm hoping that this video is going to be helpful for those of you that are planning a trip or planning to move to Singapore. And yeah, I'm linking. This is going to be a rather long video, so I'm linking down in the description the timestamps of different topics that I'm going to be covering today. And so that hopefully will be helpful. You'll also see me have this mouse. I have some notes that I'm using my laptop for that I'm going to be scrolling through, and so I just don't want you to wonder what's going on with this mouse. So that's what's going on. I'm scrolling through my notes. So let's not waste any more time and jump into this. So first and foremost, I just wanted to call out a few things that you should probably think about bringing to Singapore if these are things that you're interested in. So there are a lot of things in Singapore that you can get in the United States, and I'm specifically tailoring this video to folks coming from the United States since that is where I'm from and my context. So there are certain things that you can't get here that you can get in the United States and are very, very common. One thing in particular, several things in particular, ranch dressing, for example. So if you like salad dressing, about the only thing that you can find for salad dressing here is Thousand Island dressing. Yes, there's a couple vinaigrettes, but as far as creamy dressing, it's pretty much Thousand Island dressing. There's no ranch dressing. French dressing is hard to find. Anything creamy. But of course, the big one, the most popular one in the US would be ranch. So if you like ranch dressing, bring your own ranch dressing or bring ranch dressing packets. It's very hard to come by here. When you do see it in grocery stores, go ahead and buy it. Buy several of them because you probably won't see it again later. Another is taco seasoning. Mexican food is not a big thing here. I really like Mexican food, and back home I made tacos all the time. I was a regular Taco Tuesday is kind of a thing. It is a thing in the US. And I didn't always do it on Tuesdays, but the point is I like tacos. It's really hard to find taco seasoning, and taco seasoning, when you do find it, is pretty expensive. Like, I don't know, it's over $1 for a little packet, maybe $1.50 for a packet, sometimes even $2. And in the US, you can buy a packet for, I don't know, 30 cents, really cheap. And so one of the things I've done is I've bought a big container of taco seasoning that I brought back on a recent trip to the US. Next, microwave popcorn is one of those things that you should consider bringing. There is popcorn here, but microwave popcorn, not a lot. I don't see it in grocery stores. I see it available occasionally online, and when I do see it available online, it's really just salted popcorn. There isn't a lot of buttered microwave popcorn. So if you're a popcorn fan, bring your own popcorn. Also, Parmesan cheese is something I've had to bring. The craft Parmesan cheese that you get in those green containers. You can't find that here either. So if you like putting grated cheese on your spaghetti, if you like putting that on whatever you do, I guess I put it on spaghetti, you should bring your own. There is fresh Parmesan. You can get fresh Parmesan here, but grated Parmesan is harder. Clothing. So clothing comes, if you're a larger individual, large-sized clothing is not available. It's it's available. It's hard to come by. You can order it online. You can have it shipped from the US, but a lot of people here just aren't that big. So if you are a plus-size person, you're going to want to bring your own clothing or import that. Over-the-counter medication. So pharmacies here are a lot more locked down than pharmacies in the US. So here, if you want things like, I don't know, aspirin, Tylenol, those types of headache medications, cough syrup. A lot of that stuff it's harder to get here. You can get it, but certain ones you need a doctor's prescription, or you need a recommendation from a pharmacist, or it's harder and it's more expensive here than it would be in the US. So if you have over-the-counter medication that you like to use, you're welcome to bring it in. They don't prohibit you from bringing it in your luggage, but it's much harder to buy in country. Similarly, you may have heard that gum is illegal in Singapore. Well, it's illegal to sell gum. It's not illegal to chew gum. It is illegal to spit it out on the sidewalk. So if you are a gum chewer, go ahead, stock up on gum, bring it in. Just don't spit it on the sidewalk. Don't leave it anywhere you shouldn't, and you'll be fine. And then finally, one of the other things to bring in are toiletries. I know many people, my wife especially, is very particular about the brand names of certain toiletries. That could be toothpaste, that could be shampoo, it could be whatever kind of toiletries you have. Odds are those brands are going to be harder to find here, and if you do find them, you might not find the exact type of that item for that brand here in Singapore that you would find in the US. So for instance, you can get Crest toothpaste, but not all the Crest toothpaste is here. So if you have a particular thing where you're like, I need this Crest toothpaste or this whatever, make sure you bring in plenty of stock of that as well. One more thing. Wine. So yes, you can buy wine here. Wine's everywhere. Alcohol's everywhere. But it's heavily taxed. It's so much higher tax here for wine than it is elsewhere in the world, probably. Certainly a lot more than in the US. And so if you have the opportunity, you are allowed to bring in, I think it's 2 bottles of wine. I like wine, so I don't know what the restrictions are for other forms of alcohol, but specifically wine. Definitely bring in a couple bottles when you come in, because you can bring that in tax-free, up to I think 2 bottles. So bring that in. Yeah. So what else should you bring? And think when you're probably thinking about bringing electronics. When you bring your electronics in, you need to be very keenly aware that the voltages here are different. Here, I believe it's 240 volt, 220, 240. So your US appliances are not going to work here. Your blender, your hair dryer, pretty much any appliance, do not plan on using that here. It won't work. You'll burn it out. We brought a Select Comfort Sleep Number bed, and it was great. It was a good bed. We were so excited to bring it, and we thought we were planning ahead because we had a power converter to convert from US 110 to Singapore 220 or 240, whatever it is. But it was one of those travel adapters, and the travel adapters don't cut it when it comes to appliances or anything with an electronic switch, and this had an electronic switch. And when you hear electronic switch, think if it has a button or a screen on it, on the switch, and it's not something that mechanically clicks on, clicks off, a converter is not going to work. And even with something like a hairdryer, you don't want to put a converter usually in a hairdryer. So just buy that stuff here. We burned out our pump on our bed, so that was a major bummer. Anyway, you can buy a large converter. So they have these large converters that plug into the wall. They're these big boxes. It's possible that might work for your appliances, but again, I just wouldn't, unless you have something that you really, really have to have here and you're confident, you've done the research, you're confident it's going to work, assume it's just not going to work. Don't take the chance on something you're going to mind frying. But when you get here, if you need to buy electronics, and you probably will, Go to, there are plenty of stores to go to, but I would recommend starting at a place called Courts, Courts. So it's kind of like a Best Buy. They have a little bit of everything. They have TVs, they have kitchen appliances, they have hair dryers, hair care products, they have cameras, they have all the kind of basic, all the electronic stuff that you would probably need. There are smaller stores, but if you want like this one-stop place that's for sure going to have it, Courts is probably the way to go. And so then now you've thought about what you're bringing here. You've thought about, you've packed your stuff. You're coming here. What do you do when you arrive? What are the first things you need when you arrive? Well, this surprised me quite a bit, and that is you need a local phone number to do just about anything. Like, no kidding, just about anything. We went into stores to try to buy something, and to buy stuff, and certain places wouldn't even sell us appliances or items without a local telephone number. A U.S. number will not cut it. Our apartment here, in order to be able to open our front door for deliveries coming in, we needed a local phone number. And so before we were able to get a local phone number, we had to wait outside for delivery people just to let them in to deliver things. It was not good. You need a local phone number to get an internet connection. So I needed to get on the internet. I needed to work when we landed from our apartment. And I couldn't do that because I didn't have a phone number to register with the internet company. You needed to get a bank account. You need a local phone number. Again, like, nobody tells you this stuff, or at least nobody told me this stuff. So having a local phone number is super, super critical. You can get a SIM card as a temporary solution. And I didn't really realize this, but if you go to, so Singtel is probably the largest phone company here, and you can walk into a Singtel store and you can buy a SIM card. Singtel is at just about every single mall here in Singapore. Yes, malls are a big thing here in Singapore. I know they're dead in the US. Nobody goes to them. They're all shut down. Here, malls are thriving, and that's where you go. So grab a SIM card from the mall at Singtel, and you can go to a different phone carrier later. Just get a SIM card to get going if you need a local phone number. That'll get you through that first month to get a lot of those things set up. Additionally, you're going to need a bank account very quickly. So our first month here, it was right at the start of COVID, and we didn't have IDs. That's the other thing, is that you're going to need an ID. You need a government ID, or your work pass, dependent pass, in order to get a bank account. So make sure you set up those appointments with the Ministry of Manpower so that you can get the ball rolling on your work pass as soon as possible. Everything also hinges on that work pass. So once you get your work pass, you're going to need to get that bank account set up very quickly. So our first month, we were unable to pay basic bills like our rent, our electric bill, because all these places require a direct transfer. They want to do a bank transfer directly from your bank to their bank, and you can't do that without a bank. And so the first month we were here, we had to go to a 7-Eleven in order to pay our electric bill. I didn't even know you could do that. But you can go into a 7-Eleven with cash. So we went to an ATM and used our US bank cards to withdraw Singapore cash, and then walked to a 7-Eleven, gave the guy at the 7-Eleven our statement, our bill from our utility company, and then a pile of cash, and said, here you go. And we were able to get by that month that way. But your life is going to be really hard without a bank account. So do that very quickly. Okay. Grocery delivery. So while you're here, one of the other challenges we had was that groceries are incredibly hard to get. Yes, there are a lot of grocery stores around. If you're lucky, there's going to be a grocery store close to you, because there are a lot of grocery stores around. But even so, you're going to have to probably walk to that grocery store. You're going to have to haul groceries back. It's difficult. In the US, we're used to going to the grocery store, bringing the cart right to our car and dropping the groceries in the car, driving home and pulling them out. Here, you're walking with your groceries, or it's just more challenging. And so grocery delivery has really been a savior for us. So we use a company called Redmart, and Redmart is part of Lazada. Lazada is like the Singapore Amazon. And Redmart has great groceries. It's been fresh. The produce has been fresh. We were a little nervous about produce because you can't see it, but the produce has been good. The selection is good. So highly recommend doing grocery delivery right away so you can avoid hauling all those groceries back and forth. Additionally, if you are looking for a grocery store, the two biggest grocery stores specifically for expats that have a little bit more Western food, the biggest one for Western food is probably called Cold Storage. And they're definitely on the pricier side, but there you'll find more Western food options. Fair Price is probably the largest local grocery chain, and that also has some Western options. It's substantially cheaper than Cold Storage, and it's a great option. But overall, I try to buy from Redmart whenever possible for convenience, and it's comparably priced to Fair Price. Secondly, next for food, I would talk, there's delivery. So you can get delivery for restaurants, you can get delivery on alcohol, you can get delivery on just about any item that you want to get as well through apps like Food Panda or Grab. So both of those have delivery from restaurants and items from stores all over the island. So highly recommend those. And the delivery prices are not bad. It's about $4 generally for a delivery fee. And if my wife and I were to hop on a bus, just to get on a bus and go the shortest amount of distance is 92 cents one way. So if we go the shortest distance on a bus to get someplace and back, that's almost $4 right there. So delivery is well worth it. And then I would just say one of the things that I've probably missed the most about living in the US as far as being able to get things has been having department stores like Walmart, like Target. Even if you don't like going to those stores, you're going to miss going to those stores because there just isn't anything like that here. At least not expanded out everywhere. You can go to, there is a place called the Mustafa Center in Little India. It does have just about everything. It's huge. But depending on where you live, it could be a long trip to get there. For us, it's from where we're at, it's probably 15-20 minutes on the bus, but still, it's kind of a pain in the butt to do. So we've only been there a couple times. I know 20 minutes doesn't seem like that long. Maybe I'm complaining a bit, but anyway, it's harder to do than a Walmart or a Target. It's not catered to Western audiences and how we think about how things are organized. So anyway, Mustafa Center, good place to go if you absolutely have to find something and you can't get anywhere else. But as far as getting things in, I would also recommend you sign up for Amazon Prime Singapore, not Amazon.com, Amazon.sg. So for $2.99 Singapore dollars, so that's like, I don't know, $2.20 a month, you can have an Amazon Prime membership, so much cheaper than the US. And that Prime membership includes Prime Video. It includes free delivery. This is the big thing. Free delivery on items shipped from the US. Now, this is the whole reason why we have Amazon Prime here, is free delivery from the US, because normally shipping from the US is very expensive. But with Amazon Prime, it being free, that is fantastic. It's slow. It can take 2-3 weeks for things to get here from the US, but they get here. And the selection on Amazon Singapore isn't as good as Amazon US. There aren't as many options, but you can get a lot of things there, a lot of US stuff that you have no other way to get it. And so highly recommend Amazon Prime for Amazon.sg. You can also buy things on Carousel. So Carousel is like the Craigslist of Singapore. It's used items. You message people directly. People sell their stuff. The difference, Carousel is actually much better than Craigslist. You don't have flaky people. We've purchased beds. Or one bed. We got a bed there. We got 2 TVs off Carousel. We bought an entertainment center off Carousel. We bought all this stuff off Carousel. Nobody has flaked on us. Everybody has been exactly what they claim to be. So much better version of Craigslist. The Craigslist that you wish you had. It's actually, I highly recommend it. There's also a lot of Facebook groups for Singapore expats here. So I highly recommend you join those Facebook groups, because people will post on there when they're moving out of country and selling off all their stuff. So they're dumping all their stuff. That's a great time for you to swoop in and pick it up. You have to act fast on that stuff because it goes very fast. Just a side note here as well. Singapore is expensive. Now, if you're moving to Singapore, you probably already know that. But most likely you're going to run into somebody, you're going to find a local. Maybe there's probably people commenting on this video saying Singapore is not as expensive as David's saying it is. I know this place, you can go here, you can go that, you can get a lunch for $3 or $2.50. That's all true. There are places to get cheap things in Singapore and to live on the cheap. But those are the exception. Don't let local Singaporeans tell you otherwise. No offense to the local Singaporeans, but it is expensive here. Housing is about 4 times as much as the housing in the US. At least that's been my experience. Now, local Singaporeans, they have this concept of HDBs, which are government subsidized housing complexes, and those are fantastic for locals, for citizens, because it makes housing affordable. But not being a local, you're going to pay 4 times for a much smaller place than what you're used to paying for housing. And you don't have access to HDBs. You don't have access to the government subsidized housing. It's nice housing, but it's not accessible to you. Food is expensive. Yes, there are hawker centers. Yes, there are some mom and pop grocery shops where you can get certain local things that you can do cheap. All of that is true. You can get cheap food. If you want to eat certain foods, if you're not going to eat as a local, if you want to have things like you want to have a jar of peanut butter every once in a while, you want to eat potato chips maybe, or you want to have some meat, it's going to be 2 to 3 times as much. So hamburger, for example, we are paying right now about $6 a pound, $6 to $7 a pound, if I'm doing the math right, for hamburger. That's about how much steak costs in the U.S. And yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. A bag of chips costs like $5.50, I think, is what we pay for a bag of chips. A lot of money. So it's more expensive than the U.S. There's no way to get around that, and that's because the food is imported. A lot of food's coming from, the meat is primarily coming from Australia. A lot of food's coming through other channels, through Malaysia. But I would say most of our food, well, most of our food comes from Malaysia, Australia, China. Fruits, produce. A lot of produce can come from China. And so it's all imported. Very little is grown here. Alcohol is about 3 times as expensive as in the U.S. Like a bottle of wine that would cost about $12 to $15 in the U.S. is about $40 here. So very, very expensive. That's all tariffs, taxes, and so again, to earlier, that's why you want to bring in that alcohol if you can, to the legal limit that you're allowed. Cars, don't bring a car here. Cars are expensive. So you probably don't want to import your car. It's really hard to import a car. There are all kinds of regulations around importing cars. Cars have to be less than 10 years old. There are licensing restrictions. The license to have a car, the tags for a car, for the license plate are what really get you. Just to put a license plate on a car is, I think it's right now right around $40,000 to put a license plate on a car. Then there's additional taxes and fees. So if you look out at cars that are for sale in Singapore, like a brand new, I don't know, Toyota Corolla is going to cost you right around $100,000. I know, US. Like, that's a lot of money. So I don't have a car here, not planning to have a car here. Public transit is fantastic. Public transit is cheap. And for $100,000 US, you can do a lot of public transit and you can do a lot of Uber. So they don't have Uber here. Here it's called Grab. So I mentioned Grab earlier. They deliver food. They also will, and they got their start doing rideshare. So Grab is there are a couple other companies, but Grab is the big one. So install that Grab app, and if you use nothing but Grab, you're not going to ring up $100,000 anytime soon in Grab costs. So that's the way to go for cars and transportation. I mentioned already that U.S. brands really aren't available here. So when you're looking at foods, it's harder to get those U.S. foods that you might be used to. Furniture-wise, furniture is expensive. That's another thing that's expensive. About the main furniture shops here, we visited furniture shops, and it's like custom, tailor-made designed furniture. It's super nice furniture, but it's super expensive. So this chair that I'm sitting in right now, for example, and all the other furniture that we bought here, it all comes from IKEA. So there is IKEA. If you go to the IKEA.sg website, you'll see all the pieces that are here. For the most part, the stock of IKEA furniture here basically matches, almost 100%, the stock that's in the U.S. So you can get a good idea of what kind of furniture is available here. But I would say most people locally here buy furniture from IKEA. It's convenient. IKEA delivers, so we didn't have to worry about hiring a van or a truck to haul furniture that we bought used elsewhere. IKEA will come directly to your apartment and drop it off, which is awesome. That is the way to go. So you can set that up. Coming back to transportation, sorry to jump around a little bit on this, but coming back to transportation, if you're riding the bus, be sure to have a navigation app installed on your phone. So in the U.S., we're used to using Waze or Google Maps. Those are great apps to navigate. Here, however, I have found the app called City Mapper to be the best. And City Mapper is awesome, because it has all of the bus schedules, the MRT schedules, and routes baked in, and they're more accurate than Google Maps bus schedules and train schedules. Google has it as well, but it doesn't show you what time does that next bus come, how many more minutes until the next bus comes, what buses are coming to this stop that I'm standing at right now. It shows you different routes if you were to take the MRT versus only bus versus it's the way to go. It's not perfect. No navigation app is perfect, but by far, it like 90% of the time, 95% of the time, it does exactly what I want it to do. When leaving the MRT stations, it tells me which exit, if there are multiple exits, which exit should I take out of that MRT station to make sure I'm getting to the right place that I want to be at. That is so valuable. Okay, now if you're moving to Singapore, you're probably also looking for a condo or an apartment, right? And you may have gone online and you've been to Property Guru. Property Guru is the biggest property website for finding homes in Singapore. And when you've looked through those, you've probably said, wow, a lot of these listings show me the great facilities of this building, the awesome pool, they show me the workout center, they show me the outside of the building, and they might even show me an example of what an apartment looks like there, but they're not showing me the exact unit that's for rent. I know, yes, there are places that do that, but there are also places that don't show you the unit. I have no clue why they do that. It's so bizarre to me. It doesn't make sense. But you really need to work with a real estate agent in order to walk into these places, get a tour, or have your real estate agent go to these places and take photos for you so that you know what that specific unit looks like. Because for whatever reason, they don't show you the actual unit that you're going to rent oftentimes. That was our experience. Yeah, just want you to know that's normal here. Work with your agent. Next, eating out. When you go to eat out, you're going to need to bring your own napkins. Yes, I know, bizarre. In the US, when you go to a fast food restaurant, you could go to the cheapest, most discount place in the world, and they're going to have napkins available. They might be bad napkins, but they're going to have napkins. Here, a lot of places, and more expensive places will have napkins, but most places won't have napkins at all, or they will give you one napkin. And if you're like me, you make a bit of a mess, and you're going to need more than one napkin, or you're going to need a napkin at least. And so it's good that to remember that you're going to want to bring your own napkins with you whenever you're going out. So just keep that in mind. It's an easy thing to forget, but bring napkins. There are some uncles or aunties that sit around near restaurant areas as well, and they'll oftentimes sell these little tissue packages that are little napkins that you can buy for a dollar or two, and that's an option as well. But come prepared, bring your own napkins. I also want to just call out, you're not prepared for the heat. You think you know living on the equator is hot. It is hot. It's hot. It's the equator. It's going to be warm. But you don't realize how warm it truly is. It is hot. It is walk outside, 5 seconds later, you are sweating, kind of hot. 80% humidity. I know you look at the forecast when you're moving here, you're like, oh yeah, you know, it's in the upper 70s, maybe mid 80s most of the time. That's not bad. I'm from Arizona, or I'm from California, or whatever, and I'm used to days that are above 100 degrees, and I can handle it. I've lived in California. I've spent some time in Arizona. There is a big difference between areas with dry heat and places with 80+% humidity. Different playing field. You are not ready for this heat. So just be aware you're never going to want to wear long pants, long shirts ever again. Somehow there are people that I see walking around here wearing sweaters. I have no clue how they do it. But if you're from the US, you're not going to wear a sweater. There's zero chance you're wearing a sweater if you're from the US. You won't be able to handle it. Also weather related, it rains a lot here. Specifically, the rain. There are a couple of rainy seasons like December to March and June to September. The rain can come on very suddenly and leave very suddenly, or it can just come and park. But you want to bring an umbrella. Have a couple good umbrellas here because you'll use them. I bought some travel umbrellas. We have two of these small travel umbrellas. They're about that big, and they fit inside of a backpack real easily. My wife is able to carry it in her purse, and she has one of her larger purses. And it's really handy to have that so that if you get caught out in the rain, you're not stranded and you're not soaking wet. You have you have options. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention, which I had no idea about, is the water here. So the water is great. I drink the water right out of the tap. But it can be a little hard on your hair, specifically women's hair. So my wife complained shortly after moving here that her hair was falling out, like substantially, like coming out in large quantities. And we did some Googling, and we found that other expats, I don't think locals have a problem with it. They're probably used to the water. But other expats had the same issue with losing hair when they moved here. And apparently it's linked to heavier chlorine in the water than we're used to in the US. And so the recommendation is that you purchase a vitamin C water or vitamin C shower head filter. And what it does is it runs the tap water, the chlorinated water, through this vitamin C powder, and that powder attaches to the chlorine molecules and deactivates it, I guess. I don't know all the science behind it, but it's a thing. Look it up. It's legit. I was kind of doubtful at first. So anyway, we bought this vitamin C filter, and it's helped her quite a bit. Her hair is starting to fill back in again. But that was something just in the last 6 months we identified as the cause of this hair loss, and it was just bizarre to me. So anyway, I think that about covers it. I'm sure there are a dozen or dozens of other examples. So if you're an expat that has similar suggestions, be sure to list them down in the comments. If there are some good ones there, I'll try to pull them up into the description as well, so that they're not lost. But thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful for you. If this was a good video for you, give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And best of luck on your move to Singapore. It is a great country. Yeah, like I said, you're going to be very happy here. One of the things you don't need to worry about when you're looking for a condo is finding a safe place to live, a safe neighborhood, because they're all safe. Singapore is super safe. Singapore is sunny. It's beautiful. There's a lot to love. I know this video kind of focused on some of what Singapore doesn't have, but Singapore is great, and it does have a lot to offer. You just need to be prepared for what you need to bring, what you need to do as you're making this introduction and becoming, starting your new life here in Singapore as you become a Singapore expat like myself. So, all right, see you next time here on the Singapore Expat.